Why do we have laws? Laws are sets of rules that help people get along. They establish the things that society will and will not permit. Laws also set the rules for working out disagreements. Finally, they keep the peace and prevent criminal acts. If you break a law, you expect to be punished. Laws set punishments to discourage potential criminals. Good laws are fair, reasonable, understandable, and enforceable. Today, we will examine where our laws come from and what kinds of laws we have. As you view today's presentation, fill in the note sheet you were given in class. Please feel free to pause and rewind the video at any time during this presentation. The sign on this slide is probably familiar to most of you. We have laws governing what is acceptable on our beaches to protect people's safety, one of the main purposes of government. Please pause the video and read the passage under Purpose of Laws. The slide will allow you to answer questions 1 and 2 on your note sheet. Resume the video when you're ready to move on to learn the sources of laws. Our legal system has developed based on the ideas of things that came before us. The Constitution and our systems of laws were based on ideas, traditions, and laws already in existence. Some of these were thousands of years old. Some scholars believe even in prehistoric times there were rules for social behavior. Our oldest known set of written laws is the Code of Hammurabi. In about 1760 BC, the legal decisions of King Hammurabi were carved in a large stone pillar. They were written in cuneiform, and they were laws about things like family, marriage, adoption, slavery, agriculture, and business. They set prices for goods and services. By our modern standards, these laws had very severe penalties. Here's an example. If fire breaks out in a house and someone takes the property of the master of the house, he shall be thrown into that self-same fire. Pretty severe. Other first forms of written law include Israelite law, Roman law, and English common law. Many of these forbade violence, much like the laws we follow today. Israelite law were for the people who lived along the Mediterranean Sea. They followed a set of written laws that forbade acts like murder and theft. Roman laws were written and adopted by the Roman Senate and later simplified by the Emperor Justinian. English common law was based on court decisions, so it was based on analyzing how earlier judges decided on cases, which is known as following a precedent. Instead of someone sitting down and writing the laws beforehand, as each judge decided on a case, it became part of their law. Laws that govern our lives and protect our rights come from many sources. The following slides will give you the information you need to fill in the chart by question number 6. Our main sources of law are the U.S. Constitution, state constitution, statutes, case law, and administrative agencies. We know that a constitution is a plan for government. There are no actual laws in our Constitution, just guidelines that explain what our government wants to do and not do. It lays out the plan, and we check our laws against it to make sure we're following the plan, so no other rules or laws can go against it. These laws deal with the structure and meanings of our constitutions and how our government will work. They decide the limits of the government's power and the rights of the individual, like laws protecting or limiting our First Amendment rights. Things like freedom of speech, freedom of religion, laws that decide what we should be doing with those are constitutional laws. State constitutions describe the basic rules and expectations inside a state, and they set up how the government will function inside the state. They often will list the rights guaranteed to their citizens in addition to those that are in the Bill of Rights. Some examples of state constitutional laws are laws setting up state government or protecting or limiting rights at the state level. Statutes are laws written by a legislative branch of government. They're also known as statutory law. These could be written by Congress, state legislatures, or local legislatures like cities and counties. There are thousands of statutes. They regulate things like our behavior, like our speed limits, our minimum wage, which is the minimum amount an employer can pay an employee, food inspection rules, what goes into your food, what doesn't go into your food, things like that. And this is where many of the rights and privileges that we expect come from, like a free public education. The U.S. Constitution does not guarantee that, but it is written in the state statutes and in federal statutes. Case law. Often, especially in civil cases, a judge will decide the outcome of a case. These decisions, verdicts, are as strong as laws. Sometimes a judge cannot decide based on existing laws, so they will look to older similar cases and decide what to do. It's known as using precedent, and these laws based on judicial decisions are called case law. This often happens in civil cases. Administrative law. These are the rules and regulations the executive branch makes to carry out its job. Administrative agencies are things that the federal and state constitution give legislatures the power to create so that the executive branch can do its job. Many agency rules and regulations are as strong as laws. For example, the Federal Aviation Agency can order airlines to install a new type of safety device, and if those airlines don't do it, they are breaking the law. For a review, there are 5 major sources of law. You'll need to recognize and give examples for each. Remember, you can pause right now and jot down anything that you happen to miss. Moving on to types of laws. Many of you like watching shows like Law & Order, NCIS, or CSI. These TV shows are all about crime. Criminal laws prohibit or ban acts like theft and drunk driving. But there are other types of laws. Civil laws are things that deal with disputes between people or groups of people. Military laws regulate individuals in the armed forces. Juvenile laws are rules for individuals under the age of 18. Criminal and civil laws affect all Americans. They help keep our society orderly and peaceful. People who break these laws often end up in court. Criminal law seeks to protect public safety. Crimes against property are the most common type of crime. They don't include threats or violence against the victim. They include crimes in which property is destroyed, damaged, or stolen. Stealing a bike, shoplifting, setting fires are examples of crimes against property. There are 2 types of crimes, misdemeanors or felonies. Misdemeanors are minor crimes for which a person can be fined a small amount of money or jailed for up to 1 year. Examples of these would be like threatening someone or stealing something valued at less than $100. Felonies are punishable by more than 1 year in prison. Things like kidnapping, most types of assault, which is where you physically hurt someone, or homicide. These laws, civil laws, do not concern criminal offenses or society at large. They regulate disputes between 2 or more individuals. They happen when people think they were harmed by someone else's actions. You can also go to court for civil law. When you do that, it's because someone has brought a lawsuit in court. There are 4 major branches of civil law. Contract law, which is rules on agreements between parties to exchange something of value. Property law, buying and selling and how property is cared for. Family law, birth, adoption, marriage, divorce, death. And personal injury law, wrongful actions that cause injury to another person or damage their property. Military law regulates individuals in the armed forces and can also apply to civilians who work for the military. This concerns things like disobeying or disrespecting superior officers, desertion, and mutiny. Desertion is when you leave your assigned duty post without permission. Mutiny is when you try to take power from those who are assigned power. People accused of the above offenses may end up at court-martial, which is a special court of officers that tries those accused of breaking military law. Juvenile laws. These are rules for individuals under the age of 18. Anyone who commits a crime under the age of 18 is called a juvenile delinquent. Your delinquent offenders are young people who committed acts that would be crimes if they were committed by adults. Status offenders are young people who have committed acts that would not be a crime if committed by adults. For example, running away from home or skipping school is illegal for you, not for me. That's a status offense. The drinking age of 21, if you're found to have broken that law because you're 19 or 20, would be illegal for you, but not for someone over the age of 21. There's a separate juvenile justice system for juvenile laws. You will need to understand the difference between delinquent offenders and status offenders. At this time, you have been presented with all information required to fill in your note sheet. If you are missing anything, please feel free to go back in the video and find what you missed.